Well, g'day fishers. Welcome back to our Friday fishing report for Port Stephens. Say that one 10 times in a row. That's a tongue twister. Anyway, this weekend looks really good. Weather looks sensational. First weekend of winter, and they reckon it's going to be 23 degrees on Saturday. So make the most of that one, that's for sure. Sunday, southerly coming through, so it's not going to be as nice, but the southerly's only going to be about 10 to 15 knots, so still fishable. But make the most of Saturday. That's all I can say. Is I think it's going to be a glamour day, so probably shorts and t-shirt weather. Bring that on, huh? Anyway, so moving on with the fishing report this week. Fair bit to report, actually. The fishing's been pretty good. We'll start with inside the bay. Now, inside the bay at the moment, there's some cracking tailor around, moving about through the bay, and they're all the way from Soldiers Point all the way through to Shoal Bay. So some big tailor about. They're feeding on smaller bait, those white bait, same as what the bonito are feeding on. But if you cast into those schools of feeding fish, there are some bigger tailor underneath them. So fish up to a kilo, which is really good for inside the bay. So if you're keen on doing that, a bit of pelagic action, getting amongst the tailor. You can actually get them shore-based at the moment. They've been busting up off Wanda Headland, off the Anchorage Breakwall, Nelson Bay Breakwall, and then down on Shoal Bay Wharf at First Light. So red hot tip, there's plenty of tailor in the bay. A few bonito still about as well. Some brim still there, plenty of brim being caught. The Coles boys got into them along the walls there opposite Soldiers Point, throwing plastics up into the walls there. Apparently a couple of salmon there as well. So mixed bag on the brim up that way. So if you're keen on doing that, throwing the soft plastics around, it'll be red hot this weekend with those better tides, those early morning tides. You'll get that tide change First Light there. And then back late in the afternoon, it'll be worth a shot as well. A few mulloway being caught this week, and we have got the lead up to the full moon. I wouldn't say there's been plenty of them, but definitely there are a few fish there, even though the water's gone a bit cold. I think there's that much bait in the bay that the fish are feeding. So that ledge at the back of Middle Island there, that 28 metre ledge, seems to be fishing pretty well. Same to the front of Fame Cove there, so worth a dewy go this weekend, that's for sure. Back down, further down the bay, the Anchorage Breakwall, as I said before, tail, there's Ludrick there, and there's also brim, so if you're shore-based there. And the Nelson Bay Breakwall, well, standing room only right now. You've got to grab a rock. If you don't put your name on the rock, well then look out, you're going to be in trouble. Apparently you've got to buy now, so I'm going to go and talk to a real estate agent and see if I can buy a rock down there. So it's red hot, that's for sure. And it's because it's Ludrick season. So get into the Ludrick down there. You'll have to go and get your cabbage weed off the rocks. But I had a quick look out at Fingal yesterday. There's plenty of cabbage on the rocks out there. Take what you need. You only need a handful to get a few fish and away you go. Or come and see us. We've got some green weed flies ready to go. So plenty of Luddos down there. There's also been, believe it or not, a few nice kingies down there. Young Oscar threw some soft plastics in there and got a nice kingy as well. Now the brim have been there. Young KO, he's been throwing around some soft plastics in around the breakwall and the marina there. That kid can fish, that's for sure. Nailing fish up to 40 centimetres. So really nice brim down around the marina at the moment. A few leather jackets down there, been hassling a few bait fishos, but I think they'll thin out as we go through into winter, that's for sure. Speaking of Shoal Bay Wharf before, Taylor, Garies have moved back in. Good news is there's also been squid down there, so this weekend would be great for a squid fish down there. Nice and calm, water's clear, so 2 to 2.5 size jigs will be the go down there for a few squiddly diddlies, that's for sure. So that's what's happening inside the port. On the beaches, plenty of brim on the beaches. The brim are stacked up on the beaches at the moment. I know Fingal Spit's been fishing really well. Kitty's Corner, that weed sort of cleared there from now, and that'll fish pretty well, even though there's not much surf. I think it'll fish pretty well down in there, especially that later tide getting into dark. And some big tailor along Fingal as well at the moment, so some really, really good tailor and lots of them, that's for sure. Samurai's been much the same as well. There's plenty of brim down there. Salmon starting to get on Samurai. And as far as Barooby Beach is concerned, well, flip a coin to see which day it's open. So, but I believe this weekend it should be open, but there should be some good fishing down there with the brim and a few tailor and salmon turning up down there. Actually, speaking of tailor, I spoke to Shane. He fished after dark, got some absolute beauties off the beach. 1.2, 1.3 kilos, some absolute stonkers on whole garies on the gang. So red hot tip on the tail at the moment. Off the rocks, well, there's not too much swell, but there is enough wash there. The water is clear. The drummer are definitely there. If you fish those more exposed points when the swell's down, the drummer are definitely there. So too the brim, plenty of brim in the washes, and the Ludrick as well. Although they're on the inside, there's plenty around the washes on the outside. The water is clear too. I looked at Fingal, like I said yesterday, plenty of squid now, which is good. So those quieter bays are holding plenty of squid, which is a big comeback because they've been absent for at least 12 months. And I think all those floods definitely had something to do with that at the moment. Did hear of a couple of longtails off Tomaree, so they're still there, although I think they'll start to thin out. But as long as the bait's there, the fish will stay there and they'll travel through, that's for sure. Back down towards Cemetery Point, there's been some good tailor off the rocks down there. So if you're keen on spinning, some metal spinners or throwing a pilly in there, some really nice tailor off the rocks there at the moment. So too the Ludrick. So fishing off the rocks is red hot at the moment, that's for sure. On the offshore scene, some snap around in the shallows. It's been fishing pretty well this week actually. So those guys that have been throwing plastics around been getting some good fish. There's been some good numbers as well on those shallow 15 to 20 metre reefs there. So definitely worth a shot on the reds this weekend. Be worth a shot if you're going to do a burley trail, float some baits down. Those tide changes are ideal to do some bait fishing with first light and last light being the pick, that's for sure. Still some trag on the reefs. Spoke to Brad off Pacific Blue Charters. He's been getting some trag on the reefs. Also spoke to Jason Nelson Bay Charters. He's been still getting those dewies out in that deeper water as well. So worth a shot there. Fads are definitely out now. So if you're looking for the fads, they're definitely gone. So no more dolphin fish there, although there would be a couple hanging around, but you're just going to have to work for them and look around for them. They just won't be holding there, unfortunately. They just travel through. So worth a shot there. So that's about it. There's some really good barcode being caught. I know plenty of boys have been getting the electrics and getting some barcode, and this is going to be the weekend if you want to travel to the edge and go and get some barries. This has been a few kings on Allmark, although it's been patchy on the kings there. But if you hunt around, I'm sure you'll find a school of them there, and make sure you take some liveys with you. I mean, the jigs do work, but if you throw a livey down there, pretty well, if there's a king there, it'll come knocking, that's for sure. So going to be the weekend to get out there, especially Saturday, to go and have a drift on the edge there for a few barries. Anyway, that's it for this week. We'll try and do a report next week because I'll be in a different location. But anyway, have a good week.